What's up, y'all? Got some breaking news here for you on this Friday. You can see the little stinky girl behind me right there. Somebody said the other day, we need more Stinky in these videos. Well, guess what? She's delivering without me having to do anything at all. So shout out to Stinky wandering around the backyard. But I got a lot to get to today. Before I get to it, let me just say real quick, do yourself a big favor. If you haven't yet, sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. We have Murtaza Hussain coming on later today. He's going to tell you everything that's happening with this memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran, how Israel is trying to rat fuck the deal, whether or not the thing will actually work, and or whether it'll fall apart. We'll get into all that and much more, so sign up below. You don't want to miss it. Check out the full interview with Murtaza Hussain. Again, drops later today. You'll get a little piece of it on the channel, but to listen to the whole thing, sign up on Substack to get the full video today, or you can get the full audio podcast tomorrow for free anyway. All right. Let me start with this, y'all. So J.D. Vance, he's been sort of front and center talking about this memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran. And the move from the regime here is, if this thing falls apart, Trump is just going to blame J.D. Vance, right? But if this thing works, Trump will take credit and try to snatch it from J.D. Vance. It's classic. I mean, this is the stuff that a guy like Trump does all the time, right? So J.D. Vance is doing a podcast interview, and he says, I'm not kidding about this, it sounds fake, but it's real. He says, Donald Trump has the highest IQ of any president in history. Quote, if you give Donald Trump an IQ test with the other 45 presidents that the United States has had, he'd be either near the top or at the top. What are we doing? What are we doing? I said it on Twitter. He's not the VP. He's the mayor of Slurp City. Population 1, Donald J. Trump. What the fuck are we doing, bro? You're a grown-ass man. This is humiliating. This is embarrassing. Are you kidding me? Because let's be serious here. If we're being honest about where Trump ranks when it comes to the IQ of presidents, I would be very comfortable saying in the bottom 10%, and I think it's most likely the case, he's dead last. He's dead last. I mean, I think this guy has an IQ of like 78. Not even kidding. That's the actual number that I think he is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So J.D. Vance takes Trump to Slurp City as Trump is literally out there the same day saying, I can't wait to throw J.D. Vance under the bus. If I have to, I'll throw J.D. Vance under the bus. Now, we also have J.D. Vance doing a press conference, flat out lying, comparing this new deal that they made with Iran with Obama's deal. So Vance said that the Obama nuclear deal allowed enrichment and theirs won't. The Obama deal gave them $1 billion of American money. This gives them $0 of American money. So he got hammered with a community note. It says the Obama-era transfer of $1.7 billion to Iran was the settlement of a pre-1979 financial dispute, representing Iran's own trust fund principal and interest, not U.S. taxpayer money. In other words, it's what I always told you, that under the Obama deal, we didn't give them U.S. tax money. We gave them back their money that we stole from them. And what's funny is that now Trump is out there and he's trying to make the argument in this new deal. They're like, no, we're not giving them U.S. tax money. We're giving them back their money that we stole from them. So it's the same argument. The only difference is, in the case of Obama, it was actually giving them back their own money that we stole from them. In this case of Trump, we're giving them back their own money that we stole from them, as well as giving them $300 billion in what's supposed to be an international investment fund, right? So that's different. That's money above and beyond. That's on top of unfreezing their assets and giving them back the money that we stole from them. So here you have J.D. Vance just flat out lying. I mean, that's just a flat out motherfucking lie right there. It's incredible. Now, the interesting thing is we have seen J.D. Vance now start to say critical things about Israel, knowing that Israel is against this deal. So he said at the press conference, it does bother me that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal and personally attacked the president. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. Damn. Okay, so he comes out and says that. We also have him blasting Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. More on some of them in a little bit. More on Ben-Gvir in a little bit. But he says, you've seen the people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? You're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have. Well, guess what, JD? Number one, it's not a national security problem. Number two, they've always been clear, we're the killing guys. All we do is kill. All we want to do is create a greater Israel. All we want to do is genocide and ethnic cleansing. You guys armed them and funded them and prodded them on and fed every single motherfucking fantasy that they had of total regional domination. And now you're like, well, hold on now. Why are you guys killing so many people, bro? Because you gave them the money and you gave them the weapons and you gave them the diplomatic cover and you patted them on the back and said, go ahead and kill all these people. That's why they're doing it. But now, theoretically, we're trying to pull the leash. But what's the reality, guys? And look, a lot of people have been pointing this out. I'm not the only one here. But as Ben Meiselas said from Midas Touch, he says, when I see a clip of J.D. Vance seemingly standing up to Israel in the sense of stop the bombings of Beirut buildings, I'm shaking my head and saying, well, I agree with J.D. Vance. But then also I'm saying, who is this guy? This is a guy who's changed his name 3 or 4 different times. This is a guy who, with multiple identities, called Trump Hitler and then loved Trump. These aren't people who have any core sense of beliefs, values, or ideas, and it shifts overnight. And so basically what he's saying here is, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. This could all be a ruse, by the way. It's a ruse for the U.S. and Israel both knowing that they flat out lost the war. And if they've acknowledged that reality, which is debatable, right? But if they've actually acknowledged that reality and internalized it, the trick would be, domestically in the U.S., our government gets the people to blame the Israeli government, and with Israel's government, they get the people to blame the U.S. government. This way, you take the pressure off of your own respective governments, right? It would be a trick for the Israeli government to say, don't blame us, blame the Americans. And it's a trick for the American government to say to the American people, don't blame us, blame the Israelis, right? And on that point, the squirrel on Twitter made a good point. I'm going to sneeze. Okay. The squirrel on Twitter made a good point and said, Trump picked J.D. Vance to be his VP after Peter Thiel and Tucker Carlson convinced him that the anti-war America First isolationist fake persona they built around him was popular for the election. Now another election is looming, so they're trotting the bullshit facade out again. And then this Thiel-Mossad fraud will go right back to laundering the relaunching of the war on Iran just like he did before. And Tucker will go back to not saying a single word about him doing so, just as he didn't over the past few months. This is the media game being played by these depraved scumbags. So the squirrel is saying the Republicans realized, oh, we're going to get blown the fuck out in the election, and the election is coming up quickly. So we have to at least make a head fake towards peace and pretend like we're trying to get peace. And so that's what's going on here. It's all a ruse to eventually just go right back to what they were doing beforehand. And the squirrel also brings up Tucker and says, well, Tucker's been going after Trump relentlessly over the war against Iran and has purposefully said nothing at all criticizing J.D. Vance, even though J.D. Vance was allegedly behind the scenes in the early days before the war, saying, go big and go hard. Go big and go hard. So I'll leave it up to you guys. But again, I wouldn't put too much stock in anything they're saying right now that sounds nominally anti-war. Why do I say that? Because we've been down this road 1,000 times before. And every other time, they lied, they stabbed us in the back, they flipped, they ended up being pro-war, they ended up cucking themselves to Israel and doing Israel's bidding. And so, I'll believe it when I see it. Here's the deal. You will know that Trump and Vance are serious about actually ending this if they cut off the money and the weapons to Israel. Full stop. Period. The end. Anything short of that is all talk. It's all bullshit. It's all it's all nonsense. You'll know they mean it when they decide no more money for Israel, no more weapons for Israel, and now we're cutting you off and you're on your own, bitch. So now you better motherfucking fall in line, because if you don't, you're cooked. You'll be destroyed by all the other states around you, because you know you can't survive without U.S. support. It's not possible. So we'll see, but that's what's going on with them. All right, now, as I talk to you right now, there's a lot of, talk back and forth, a lot of speculation. We're not sure exactly what's happening. We see little pieces of news here and there. Some of it is rumors, some of it is true. But the memorandum of understanding may be collapsing. So the IRGC shut down the Strait of Hormuz due to Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon. So Iran is demanding guarantees that the Lebanon fighting will end before resuming U.S. talks. Netanyahu vowed Israel's going to stay in southern Lebanon as long as necessary. That would be in contravention of the deals. That's Netanyahu saying we're not following that shit. Israeli strikes are continuing to ramp up in Lebanon, which, as you guys know, is completely and utterly illegal and unacceptable under the deal. It's like one of the core parts of the deal. Israeli officials apparently say that they believe Trump lost interest and Israel may need to act alone. And Israeli National Security Minister Ben-Gvir is calling for escalation. And I'll have more on him in just a second, by the way, because he's the true face of Israel. And what he's saying is what they actually want to do. And it should terrify every single reasonable person on this planet. Okay, so we also have a pretty reliable Iranian journalist who has been right about other things, has now come out, according to Faytux News, and says that the IRGC has closed the Strait of Hormuz and is firing warning shots at ships trying to pass. And it appears to be related to continued Israeli action in Lebanon. Now, again, I don't have secondary sourcing on that yet. I'm not totally sure that that's what's happening, but these are the rumors that are floating around out there. At the very least, we hit another diplomatic crisis where Israel did attacks against Lebanon, and Iran, at the very least, is threatening to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And apparently, our government is panicking over it. So apparently, J.D. Vance postponed his planned trip to Switzerland for the U.S.-Iran talks, which were expected to begin on Friday. U.S. officials reportedly say that J.D. Vance's trip was postponed due to Iranian claims regarding the situation in Lebanon. So in other words, the Iranians are going to the Americans and going, what the fuck? Get your Israeli dogs under control. They're still killing people in Lebanon. They're still murdering people in Lebanon right the fuck now. Okay. When asked whether the U.S. would defend Israel if it chose to strike Iran independently, Trump said, quote, absolutely. See, when I saw this one, and this is, by the way, I should be clear, is from Israeli Channel 14. But when I saw this one, my immediate thought was, oh, for sure they just reminded Trump that they have Epstein blackmail on him, right? For sure that's what this is. For sure that's what's happening here. It has to be. It has to be. Unbelievable stuff, man. All that fucking talk and like in a moment's notice, they just fucking revert back to the pro-war bullshit. As I warned you, would happen and is the most likely scenario. Okay, so Faytux News again comes out and says, the U.S. has told Iran that Israel has agreed not to further escalate attacks in Lebanon after strikes responding to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. A source said the message was relayed to Tehran as the Trump administration tries to get postponed nuclear talks with Iran back on track. So to me, this sounds like our government desperately telling Iran, hold on, still meet with us, let's negotiate. Israel says they're not going to escalate anymore. But my guess is this is just the U.S. telling Iran Israel's not going to escalate anymore without such guarantees from Israel itself. Because Israel is still being very defiant and is still doing fucked up shit inside of Lebanon. Okay, here's the stinky girl. Hold on, I got to let her in. Give me a zip. Okay, so Ben-Gvir, ready for this? So Ben-Gvir comes out and says on Twitter, for every tear of an Israeli mother, 1,000 Lebanese mothers must weep. All of Lebanon must burn. Let me repeat that. All of Lebanon must burn. Outright, straightforwardly, calling for genocide, no ifs, ands, or buts. You even have psycho-Zionists in the replies to him being like, hey, asshole, you're making our life difficult. When we try to tell the world that we're not monsters, that we're not villains, you're making that impossible because you're proving that we're monsters, that we're villains, that the actual goal is genocide, ethnic cleansing, land theft, a greater Israel. Like, hello? But this is what he's out there saying. Now remember, this is all at the same time. Trump and Vance are going, oh yeah, we have the Israelis under control. Again, you're not going to have them under control unless you cut off the money and the weapons. They will continue to rat fuck you. They will continue to blow up the deal 1,000 ways to Sunday. Hear me now, quote me later. It's an ironclad law of nature. To the Israelis, a ceasefire means you cease, we fire. Every time. All right, so there's all this evidence floating around Twitter that the Israelis have been strategically dropping dozens of highly lethal cluster munition bombs disguised as children's toys and soccer balls in Lebanon. So this is like when in Gaza, they would have drones that make the sound of a crying baby, and then mothers would run out into the streets to see if they could help, and then they would get murdered by a drone from the sky. This is how depraved the Israelis are. Now we know they got things that look like soccer balls. A little kid will run up to go play with it. It'll blow up and kill him. That's what this is. And these are the people who, we're supposed to trust them. We're supposed to believe, oh yeah, they're going to fucking listen. No, you have to make them listen. You have to bring them to heel. You have to cut off the money and cut off the weapons. Period. End of story. Full stop. Okay. Now, Chuck Schumer, the so-called head of the Democrats, he came out and said, the U.S. is worse off because of Trump's incompetence, his ego, and his inability to listen to facts. Well, that part is true. He continues. If Trump wants to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Iran, he'll need to do with Republican votes. Democrats will not be helping Trump send $300 billion to Iran. In other words, what he's saying here is, I'm going to resist Donald Trump from the right. Now I'm going to say, since we have theoretically a deal on the table to end this illegal war of aggression, now Chuck Schumer's saying, no, I support continuing the illegal war of aggression. That's what he's doing here. No, you dumb fuck. The actual criticism that makes sense of Trump is that, I don't believe you. I don't believe you're going to abide by these terms. Netanyahu's already not abiding by these terms. I think you're going to change your mind in under a week. I think you're going to be right back to doing acts of aggression in under a week. That's what I think. Instead, he's trying to goad Trump into blowing up his own deal and make it so what? We go back to a hot war with Iran? And the answer is yes, because Chuck Schumer himself cares more about Israel than he does about this country. That's a fact. I'm sorry, it's true. He literally said, what was it, last year, 2 years ago? My job is to keep the Democrats pro-Israel. That's what he said. That's your job as leader of the Democrats? That's your job. No, I think your job should be to try to get us health care and education and free college and a living wage and end the wars and tax the rich. I don't think your job should be to try to get Democratic voters to be in favor of a fucking ethno-state, rape terrorist state. What's wrong with you? Jesus Christ. So that's fucking disappointing. There's your leading Democrats. There's this weird thing that some of them are doing where, like, they, in order to own Trump now, they're outflanking him to the right and trying to be like, oh yeah? Well, we want you to continue the war. That's the better thing to do. And it's like, do me a favor, just shut the fuck up forever. You clearly don't believe in anything. So, like, why are you in politics? Why are you in the government? You don't believe in anything. Like, step aside and make room for people who are not just Democrats in name only. We are actual Democrats. We are actually on the left, and we believe in ending wars and bringing about justice. Jesus Christ. Okay. So this is terrifying, but the Pentagon used Elon Musk's Grok AI to launch over 2,000 missiles in Iran, which I don't know about you guys, but when I read that, my initial thought is, we are so fucked. It is beyond belief just how insanely fucked we are, y'all. Using Grok to launch AI. The same AI that was in the news for creating a whole bunch of child pornography images, right? That AI, the same AI that lied to me repeatedly and couldn't answer a basic question when I said, hey, what podcast is Joe Rogan on here? And it just lied like 7 or 8 times and I had to correct it. And then it goes, oh, okay. It hallucinates like a motherfucker. It's like the least accurate AI. And you're using that to pick targets in war? Well, no wonder we're carpet bombing little girl schools in Iran and hospitals and bridges and shit like that. This is insane. Over 2,000 missile strikes in Iran because of Grok? The fucking AI that was created by a literal Nazi ketamine addict, low IQ dipshit like Elon Musk? Oh my days, bro. Oh my days. Okay, also, this is interesting. Share this with everybody that you know. Apparently, according to the New York Post, twice as many MAGA Republicans favor regime change in Iran than those who want a negotiated settlement. So, in other words, let me break this down into simple terms for everybody. The self-described traditional Republicans or old school Republicans, the non-MAGA Republicans, they are actually more anti-war than the MAGA Republicans, which, of course, should make you want to jump off a bridge because we were told, oh, the MAGA Republicans are all, no new wars. You know, we're the anti-war people. They flipped like motherfucking that as soon as their fat, pedophile, rapist, terrorist president decided, let me do another 7 wars. So everything they said, total horseshit. They never meant a word of it. They 100% are in favor of more wars. And now we know twice as many MAGA Republicans favor regime change in Iran than those who want a negotiated settlement. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay. We also have Trump at the G7 sparking a diplomatic crisis. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it happened with Italy. Italy's foreign minister, Antonio Tajani, has now canceled his planned trip here on June 21st after Trump insulted Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. So Trump claimed that she begged for a photo with him at the G7 and that he, quote, felt sorry for her. Well, Meloni heard this and released a video, and she basically said, this is completely and utterly fabricated. Quote, I am frankly appalled. I don't know why the president of the United States behaves this way towards his allies. And then she added that Trump appears to show more accommodation toward the enemies of the West than America's allies, and concluded by saying, quote, Italy and I never beg. And she was fucking pissed, bro. You go back and look at the body language of Meloni anytime she's around Trump at the G7. She fucking hates this guy. She fucking despises this guy. But then you see the video she released, and she's furious. And, like, I think it's tough for people to really wrap their minds around the fact just how big of a pathological liar Trump is. And so you can see the genuine shock and awe on people's faces when Trump's endless lies end up targeting them and making some shit up about them. And Meloni was, like, actually taken aback and was like, this is fucking crazy that this guy's just out here saying shit, pulled it straight out of his fat ass. What the fuck are we talking about? So really, really amazing stuff there. We also have Trump sitting down for an interview with Axios, and a reporter asked him, what have you learned about not just the exercise of power, but the limits on your power as a result of the conflict with Iran? Trump responds, there are no limits. The reporter says, no limits? Trump says, no, I haven't learned that lesson yet. I mean, I know there are, but you know, there are no limits to my power. Again, man, I mean, he literally just sounds like a fucking comic book villain at this point. You know, like, there's not even an effort to be like, oh, yeah, we're the good guys. We swear we're the good guys. No. This is like, we're disgusting pieces of shit. Like, we are the bad guys. Everybody knows we're the bad guys. We're not even pretending anymore. Who says there's no limits to my power? Literally any other president in U.S. history, Democrat or Republican, would go off with, you know, a well-known rant where they list, you know, hey, we believe in checks and balances. We believe in rule of law. We believe in separation of powers. Any other leader would say that. But here's Trump. There's no limits to my power. I do what I want. Oh, my days, bro. Oh, my days. I can't handle this shit anymore. Now, you know how Trump brags all the fucking time? I passed 7 dementia tests. I passed 7 dementia. Well, first of all, well, he says IQ test or something like that. It's not IQ test. It's actual dementia test. And they keep giving it to him because they know something's wrong, okay? Well, he just failed his most recent cognitive test because he was given the Congressional Medal of Honor of Freedom, I forget which one, to somebody at the White House. And he couldn't get the thing clamped. Like, he goes to put it on, couldn't get it clamped. And so then what does he do? He just ties it. He ties it like he's tying a shoe. So the Congressional Medal of Honor of Freedom is now sitting on this guy's neck. It's like choking him. It's like, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And Trump acts like, you know, he acts like, who cares? It's fine. It kind of reminds me of, remember when he was walking up into Air Force One, he had an umbrella. He put it down before he got into the plane and just walked in. And the fucking thing starts like flying away. It's like, the guy's a fucking slob. The guy's a fucking slob. He's a dumbass and he's a slob. Now, speaking of slob, I'm going to get to more on that in a second because we have that new book, Regime Change, that's coming out. Whoo, boy, there's some gems in there, and Trump actually is a fucking slob, okay? But in an interview for the book Regime Change, Trump reflected on his power by comparing himself to Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Mao, and Stalin. He argued that he possessed greater global reach because they didn't have airplanes, while describing those past leaders as having maintained power through fear. So this gives you some insight into how he thinks, right? He loves the idea. Like, he thinks of somebody like Stalin and is like, yes, I love that. I love that sort of power. I aspire to that. And now you know, he thinks ruling through fear is a good thing. So with him building all those concentration camps, taking away people's constitutional rights, threatening the Insurrection Act, talking about stealing elections, trying to steal the last election, all that stuff. This is what he gets off on. This is what he gets off on. He would rather be feared than loved. He'd rather be feared and hated than loved. And now it's him basically saying this stuff. Okay. So in this book as well, Trump took satisfaction in seeing tech oligarchs who once opposed him basically seek his favor after the 2024 election. So he described Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos as, quote, kissing my ass. And he told Elon Musk, quote, they hated me. They hated me. And look at them now. So how does that feel? Fucking Zuckerberg, Zuckerfuck. How does that feel? Bezos. How does that feel? You dumb fuck. Here you are, crawling over broken glass to stroke this guy's ego and stroke his something else, his tiny little mushroom pecker. And here he is fucking mocking you and making fun of you. It's just so embarrassing. Like, capital immediately breaks with the fascists every single time because all they care about is money and power. And they know if they could just get in good with the fascist leader, they're guaranteed that money and that power. They'll get their tax cuts. They'll get their subsidies. They'll get their no-bid contracts. They'll be invited to Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it really is shameful what this country's become. It really is. Now, like I said, Trump's a fucking slob. In regime change, we also learned that Trump is apparently a late-night snacker. And so they say, quote, the 80-year-old president is a late-night snacker who leaves chip bags and wrappers lying around on the floor, according to Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump, a forthcoming book by White House correspondents Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. A nighttime snacker, the president would frequently leave an array of empty potato chip bags, Starbucks wrappers, and ice cream cartons in the trash or on the floor. The staff had to begin monitoring the trash after it was discovered he was sometimes throwing out White House sterling silver utensils. So that's the other thing. His obsession with gold. He was just throwing out the silver utensils from the White House. That's fucking mental, bro. That is so mental. The other thing is, he insisted on having carpet in the bathroom. And so people were like, bro, you're going to get mold in there. You can't put carpet in a bathroom. Like, you're just begging for it to be fucking disgusting and smell bad and, have shit growing on it. But he insisted on it. So what they tried to do was, like, they would put a carpet, but then they put, a rug over the carpet, and then they would, like, switch out the rug every now and then, right? But, like, who does that? Who insists on... It's probably because, like, he feels like his feet are cold, and he's like, I want my feet to be warm. Put a carpet in there. And they're like, sir, you can't do that for this reason and that reason. He's like, I want it anyway. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with this guy, man? Holy shit. Trump also privately, according to this book, quote, told several associates that Venezuela could be America's 51st state and that he would appoint a governor to run it. They say the success of the daring raid on that country in January 2026 and the capture of its president, Maduro, reinforced Trump's certainty that he could reshape the world quickly and painlessly. So as many experts pointed out, this is what happened with Iran. He felt like, oh, I can't lose. I just fucking kidnapped a sovereign leader and started stealing oil and gold from Venezuela and looting and pillaging. So I could do this anywhere. I could do this everywhere. So yeah, let's fucking do it with Iran too. Who gives a fuck? Let's do it. And then apparently he realized, oh shit, they're way more powerful. They're way more intelligent. And they were able to fucking outmaneuver me. And they've been preparing for this war for a really fucking long time. For a really long time. Okay. We also have this. Again, in the same book, we're getting a lot of juicy tidbits. And this is in Politico. President Trump privately called Commerce Secretary Howard Nuttlick a pussy after Nuttlick pushed back on Trump's obsession with tariffs. So this is how this guy is. When you explain to him, hey, here's why this makes no sense. Here's why this is going to backfire. Here's why this is going to fuck up the global economy. Here's why this is going to tank your approval rating. You show all that to him, and his reaction is not like to soak it in and logically respond or like understand what you're saying and counter it with something reasonable. No, his reaction, what a fucking pussy. You're such a pussy. You don't even want to tank the global economy? You don't even want to destroy our farmers? You don't even want to alienate us and isolate us from the rest of the world and guarantee a Chinese century? You don't even want to do that? You don't want an American century of humiliation? Fucking mental, bro. Absolutely fucking mental stuff. Also, shout out to Anthony Andrews on Twitter, because what he's doing is going back through the Epstein files. And really some shit that journalists should be doing, going through everything that we have already, because there's so much stuff in there that, like, we haven't really gone through yet. And one of the things he found is Epstein emailed Michael Wolff, the reporter, that Trump sexually assaulted a woman in Ivanka's bedroom. In Ivanka's bedroom. I believe it was in 1993. And that woman was there with her husband on like a business meeting. And he cornered her in Ivanka's room and started trying to put his hand up her dress and kiss her. And she was like, what the fuck are you doing? My husband's next door. What the fuck is this? We're here at a fucking business meeting. And not only that, but then there was like a lawsuit later on because he like whatever contract he had with them, he fucked them over. So this is like, again, this is the shit that like journalists should be doing this. Instead, some random person on Twitter is the one who's like going through the Epstein files and finding these new things. Just like remember the nipple torture kink, which just came out the other day? That's like, oh shit, I forgot about this one. There's so much shit in the Epstein files you forget. Like Trump's got a fucking nipple torture kink. Jesus Christ. Okay. The reflecting pool. Have you guys been following this, man? So this is, I mean, this is crazy. This is insane. But the thing is now motherfucking greener than it was before. Like it's worse than it was before. It's fucking greener than the grass, bro. The grass next to it is less green than the green of the fucking reflecting pool. And the whole point of fixing the reflecting pool was so that for this upcoming holiday, it would be clean for then. And now they're desperate. Now they moved it to like a top priority. They're bringing people in to like try to clean it 24/7. They're dumping hydrogen peroxide in that bitch. By the way, it's not really working well enough to get rid of all the green. Only around the edges, maybe a little bit it's helping. But this is fucking unsustainable. So it's so bad that not only is everything turning green, not only do they have people 24/7 trying to fix it and they're not able to fix it, but also the American flag blue color on the ground is fucking chipping. And there's massive paint chips of the American flag blue floating around. You have tourists are coming and taking a piece of it. They're taking a piece of it and bringing it with them. I'm not kidding. So, I mean, and then now what's floating around Twitter is the guy who got the no-bid contract is like some fucking goofy-ass fat dude with a toupee, looking like a cartoon character. Definitely some mobbed-up asshole. By the way, the name of the company is Greenwater, which you can't make this up. Just absolute lunacy, what we're witnessing here. So here's the bottom line, and we know this from the fountain that Trump had fixed too. The reason why this is happening, it's all pay to play. It's all corruption. It's all corruption. Trump is doing these no-bid contracts, picking people who we know will let him skim off the top. It's a mobocracy. So the real point here is for Trump and his family to get paid. Everything else is ancillary. So there were no, quality checks. There's no like, hey, what work have you done in the past? How has your stuff worked out in the past? Like, there's none of that. It's just like, okay, whatever, we'll give you this contract. And then it's some asshole. I guarantee you the actual work itself costs $100,000 to do, and they made millions off the shit. I mean, this whole country is a joke. It's a sick joke. And it's indicative of everything else, right? Just like our military-industrial complex. We spend like so much, I don't even know the exact number, but the amount more we spend on our military compared to Iran is like infinity more, right? And they beat us in this war. So like we're prepared for a war to be fought in like 1986. We have like a primitive military, but the military-industrial complex is this massive fucking slush fund, right? Trump wants $1.5 trillion for the military budget when the Pentagon can't even account for 63% of their money. More than half of their money is missing. It's all a scam. It's all like, CEOs and executives and Epstein-class billionaires getting yachts and getting yachts that have yachts inside of their yachts as like, we build like subpar bullshit that makes it so we lose a war to Iran. I mean, it's a sick joke. Speaking of sick jokes, so there's this clip of Patrick Bet-David floating around from, of course, the PBD podcast. And he says that the U.S. government was in contact with him because they wanted him to run Iran after the regime change. They wanted him to run the Iranian economy. I'm not kidding. Patrick Bet-David, before his podcast, is most well known for running a fucking multi-level marketing scam. Okay? He was just outed by CoffeeZilla for promoting this thing called Goliath Ventures, I believe. And that was also a massive scam. That guy is going to prison for fraud. Do you understand that? And so all this guy's known for is like, he's also kind of like a fake business guy like Trump. Like that's his whole thing is like marketing and PR. He wears the suit and the tie and people think like, oh yeah, that guy knows business. No, that guy, his whole thing is making you think he knows business and like becoming popular through the optics of it. Well, they were asking him to fucking run the Iranian economy. You can't make this shit up, bro. You can't make this shit up. This is like that asshole, the Shah's son, who goes, oh yeah, I'm leading the transition in Iran. Meanwhile, the motherfucker lives in California. You're not even in Iran, bitch. What are you saying? That was total horseshit. It's incredible. These fabulous, as we call them, fabulous who are like claiming, oh yeah, no, totally. They want me for this like incredible position. So I hope he's just lying. I hope it's bullshit. I hope that he's just trying to like do some self-aggrandizement and there is nobody in the U.S. government who wanted him to run the fucking Iranian economy. But you know what? Maybe they did. I can absolutely see these idiots. I can see fucking Scott Bessent or Howard Nutlick or fucking Jared Kushner or Steve Witkoff or whoever the fuck. I could see any of them reaching out to him like, hey, we like you. You got a nice podcast. How about you run a fucking giant country now? Oh, my days. Oh, my days. Okay, so did you guys see that there's a major flu outbreak that has made 160 troops at Lackland Air Force Base sick? And this is just weeks after the Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Kegsbreth, announced that the U.S. would no longer require the troops to be vaccinated for the flu. So, now, oh, it's your personal choice, as they say. Oh, well, would you look at that? Massive flu outbreak. I believe there was at least one troop who actually died as a result of this. So as Kuckturd points out on Twitter, shout out to him, he says, the flu killed more U.S. soldiers in World War I than combat did. Think about that. It devastated our troops and spread throughout the battlegrounds like the plague. The flu vaccine saved our troops from the same deadly catastrophe during World War II, and now Pete Hegseth and the anti-vaxxers have fucking ruined everything and are going to make it so, not only are we getting fucking victory-mogged by Iran, but now the flu is victory-mogging us. Unfucking believable. Unbelievable. Did you guys see that fucking RFK and JD Vance? They're now all on this, like, special diet where they eat, like, fermented vegetables all day and red meat. They eat, like, shit that sounds disgusting and makes you gassy as fuck. They're probably, like, absolutely murdering their spouses with their putrid gas coming out of their asses. And they're, like, bragging about this. I got this new diet. This new diet's amazing. I have it in between nicotine and drinking raw sewage water. It's really great. I love it so much. I eat sauerkraut all day and shit my brains out, but I feel amazing. It gives you permanent 24/7 diarrhea, but it's okay. It's really up there. It's up there with my beheaded beluga whale diet that I love so much that I did back in the 90s. Jesus fucking Christ, man. So The Intercept is saying that Israel's government asked Meta to censor social media content about the war against Iran. So there's internal documents that they reviewed. Company records show that Israel petitioned Meta to take down posts expressing support for Iran and opposition to Israel and depictions of Iranian missile impacts. So they're really coming to take away all of our freedom when it comes to the internet, bro. They really are. They're trying to take away all of our freedom. They're trying to fucking make it so all that's allowed is rank propaganda in favor of MAGA and the billionaires and Israel and genocide. It is so fucking gross. It's so gross. There's also this story. This is kind of a big deal, but Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a corporate Democrat from New York, she has a 22-year-old son who just graduated from college, okay? And today it's reported that he received $30 million in venture capital funding to launch a derivatives exchange. Meanwhile, his mom sat on the Senate Agriculture Committee, which has jurisdiction over derivatives, until this past year. There is no other kid in the country who can immediately graduate college and get $30 million in venture capital. That is 100% because of her mom's connections. And so, fuck her. Look, we are currently living in a new Gilded Age, and the corruption of the MAGA regime is completely and utterly out of control. It's a disgrace. And here you have a corporate Democrat desperately trying to cash in for her and her family. Instead of like trying to fix the corrupt system, she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna get a piece of the pie too. Fuck you, you're not a real Democrat. You're a Democrat in name only. God damn it, man. Speaking of humiliations, so Joe Rogan came out the other day and he said that 150 million people watched on Paramount the UFC fight on the White House lawn. Now, here's the sad reality. You ready for this? Paramount only has 80 million subscribers, so that would be the most that would even be able to watch it in the first place is 80 million, not 150 million. But the actual number of viewers was 17 million. Rogan said 150 million. The actual number was 17 million. Just a little bit off there, fella. Just a little bit off, aren't we? Aren't we? Okay. BBC is reporting that a new poll came out. Trust in news hits a new low. Some new research suggests trust in news hits a new low. It's all the way down to 37%. That is like basically tied with Trump's approval rating. And look, I think that my takeaway from this is, number one, yeah, you guys did a pretty bad job overall covering like a real-time genocide live streamed in 4K with kids getting shot in the face and people being starved to death. You guys didn't do a great job covering that. And then also, in this new era, this new Gilded Age, if you're not calling out the MAGA criminals for what they are, you're not calling out the billionaires for what they are, you're not calling out the warmongers for what they are, like, people are not going to trust you. Like, all this nonsense about you need to be neutral. No, you don't. You need to tell the truth. You shouldn't be neutral as a journalist. You should be objective as a journalist. Neutral means always call a 50-50, always give both sides. Well, what do you do in a scenario where it's like creationism versus evolution? I'm not going to give you both sides. One side is stupid, right? What do you do? Oh, this person says climate change is real and they're a scientist. This person says it's not, and he's a dipshit fundamentalist Christian. Okay, fuck the fundamentalist Christian. Tell me what the scientist says. Don't be neutral. Be objective, okay? And this is the problem. There's a crisis of objectivity in our media. And that's why now it's at a historic low. Okay, Fox News is apparently shitting themselves, and they are very concerned that the Knicks players will not show up to the White House to meet Trump. I don't know if you guys saw this, but James Dolan said on a radio show, oh yeah, we're going to the White House to meet Trump. Now, James Dolan is the billionaire owner of the Knicks, and James Dolan is a colossal fucking asshole. He didn't ask these guys whether or not they want to go to meet the president. In fact, we know virtually all those guys, probably literally all of them, say they don't like Trump. The only one who was a question mark was Mitchell Robinson, because he likes country music and he had some American flag shit, right? But somebody brought it up to him on social media. He goes, I don't support him. So if you don't have him, you don't have fucking anybody in that room. We know Josh Hart hates him. He has tweets up about how he hates Trump. So Dolan is like the billionaire owner forcing his team to go to the White House. What if they don't want to fucking go? So now Fox News is panicking that they're not going to go. Well, I really hope they don't fucking go. And to the extent that any of them do, I would hope if they do, you actually make a point of doing some sort of a protest. Go up there and say, stop treating immigrants like shit. Stop with all the wars, whatever. But I just hope they flat out don't go. And apparently Fox News is fearing that they're not going to go because they shouldn't, because they hate Trump and the whole NBA hates Trump. And like, why? Why go give the fucking new Hitler a photo op? Fuck him. And if Dolan wants to fire you guys, say, okay, fire all of us then, bitch. You can't. We just want a chip. Fuck off. That's what I would say. All right. Reviews have apparently been turned off for J.D. Vance's new book after it received numerous one-star reviews. That's awesome. You love to see it. Everybody hates J.D. Vance, as they should. Mexico is amending its constitution to cut the maximum work week from 48 hours down to 40 hours by 2030. And give 13.5 million workers the legal right to ignore their boss's calls, messages, and emails after their shift ends. So, shout out to Claudia Sheinbaum, man. She's awesome. Shout out to the people of Mexico. And I will say, I was watching the World Cup yesterday, and Mexico was playing South Korea. I was rooting for Mexico, dog. And Mexico is 2-0, and they're now through to the next round. And I'm rooting for you guys because of AMLO. I'm rooting for you guys because of Claudia Sheinbaum. I'm rooting for you guys because you're doing a fucking awesome job, like ushering in social democracy when your psychotic neighbors to the north are ushering in fascism. So shout out to Mexico, man. Love seeing stuff like this. And like I said, I hope they continue to freak it in the World Cup. All right. This is interesting. CNN is reporting that former President Barack Obama now has a 57% approval rating. 57%. Wow. Only 34% of the public supports Trump. 57% support Obama. Now, why is that? Look, I think it's very simple. I think in this moment, going through this historic era where fascism has taken over all over the place, people look back at Obama's years, and at the very least, what you see is an adult. You see competence. You see consistency. Like, ideologically and policy-wise, I have a lot of disagreements with Barack Obama that I've talked about on the show. But there's no denying. One thing you get from Democrats is a level of maturity and intelligence and a level of just being an adult that you don't get among Republicans. Republicans are literally a fascist, terrorist, imperialist death cult. They're a wrecking ball. They actively want to make things worse. Like, they actually believe in making things worse. They are a death cult. Whereas with the Democrats and with Obama, at the very least, you felt like, look, they're going to at least try to make things a little bit better, right? They might not be ambitious enough. They might not go far enough. They might not want to do the page one rewrite that I want to do and all of you want to do. But at the very least, you're going to get the nuclear agreement with Iran, normalization with Cuba, Obamacare, which got millions more people health care. And I think in going through what we're going through now, people look back at Obama and they go, oh, well, at least he was not a fucking total dumbass, right? At least he didn't start an illegal war against Iran. At least he didn't fucking kidnap the Venezuelan president and steal their oil and their gold. At least he wasn't self-dealing to the extent fucking Trump is the most corrupt president we've ever seen ever by far, not even close. So 57%, man, that's some wild stuff. And then finally, we'll end with this. As Mein Kampf, the streamer, decided to go out on his show, on his stream, and say, quote, "You're not being oppressed by the top 2% of society. You're being oppressed by the bottom 2% of society instead. People ain't gonna like this one. The bottom 2% of society have caused all of the manifest problems in your lives." Yeah, the reason why people aren't gonna like it is because it's not true. And it's the dumbest thing anybody's ever said. I've never heard anything more incorrect than what he just said here. This is literally the most untrue thing. This is like world record levels of wrongness. Because I don't know if you know this, Asmongold, the bottom 80% of the country only has 7% of the wealth. Basically, the top 10% has fucking everything. Everything. Okay? You're talking about, what, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck and can't afford a $400 emergency? When you talk about that bottom 2%, bro, they have absolutely nothing. They have nothing. They live in squalor. Like, I don't think you understand. They're like, how could they be the cause of your problems? They have none of the wealth. None of it. Meanwhile, you can work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, not make enough money to survive. Elon Musk just became a motherfucking trillionaire because of some financial scam IPO where he rigged the rules in order to make your mom's retirement savings go to his fucking Nazi ketamine-addicted ass. What are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? It's incredible, bro. It is incredible to see people this cucked. No, the fact of the matter is, we don't live in a meritocracy. It's not the harder you work, the further you go. It's not only the most intelligent people have all the money. We live in an anti-meritocracy. We live in a scam country and a scam economy. Everything is rigged. It's rigged against you and for these robber barons, for this Epstein class. Okay? How can a guy like this... You literally saw the Epstein files, bro. You saw the Epstein files. You saw elites who were quite literally, like, killing people, raping kids. Epstein's buying vats of sulfuric acid, and he had a trapdoor underneath his fucking pedophile palace on his pedophile island to dump bodies into the ocean. Like, you saw that these people have all the money, all the power, all the control. They can manipulate world events. They live in the shadows. You saw all of that and you went, nah, let me get mad at somebody who gets like what? $1.50 per meal for food stamps, if that. Let me get mad at somebody who can't pay the fucking light bill. Let me get mad at somebody who's fucking homeless. By the way, bottom 2%, he's literally saying like homeless people are the cause of most problems in your life. What? No, they're in the same boat as you. They've been beat down by the system. How easy is it for somebody to go homeless? All that has to happen is like, you know, a couple family members die. You can't make a rent payment. You lose your job. Like, boom, you're on the streets. Then what? Then, like, you desperately need to try to find your way back. Like, this could happen to anybody, bro. This could happen to fucking anybody. My dude, you live in filth. You used a dead rat as an alarm clock, dog. Like, I hate to say this. If you weren't born in this era, right, you would be in that bottom 2%, right? You would be. That would be you. And now you have zero sympathy or empathy or humanity that you look at these people with. Like, you just look at them as, like, literally, like, cockroaches. Ironically, as cockroaches have literally crawled all over you when you do your stream. Oh, my days. Oh, my days. Like, it's just, I'm sorry. This is he's parroting the views of the oligarchs. It's divide and conquer. It's, no. Don't look up at the people who are actually fucking robbing you. Look down at the people who are in the same boat as you. Guys, we talked about it, but there was a study from the Rand Corporation, okay? And they found that the top 1% of society effectively stole $80 trillion from the bottom 90% since 1974. That's not me speaking. That's a Rand study speaking. Why? Because these are the billionaires who bought the government, rigged the system, changed the rules, shook you down. So if the income and wealth and pay disparity was the same as it was in just 1974, every American would have an extra $1,144 per month, every month, for the rest of your life until you die. That's how much they rigged the system. And this guy's going, no, don't blame the people that rigged the system. Blame somebody who's like fucking sleeping in a tent on Skid Row. Like, unbelievable, man. I don't even know what else to say. But Asmongold's a fucking disgrace. The most untrue thing anybody's ever said. And he is like a little bitch for the Epstein class. He's a little cuck for the billionaires, for the robber barons. Like, he is their loyal foot soldier. And no matter how much they rig the system, he will defend them no matter what. And people who are struggling, people who live in poverty, people who are working class, he looks at you with disdain. And it's funny because, like, he's a millionaire streamer, and, like, now he looks down his nose at anybody who's, like, lower than him on the income ladder. It's really fucking gross. But anyway, there you have it, guys. There are your updates. Like I said, everybody sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends. You'll get all the details, all the specifics of what's going on with the Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran. You don't want to miss it. Murtaza Hussain, an expert on this stuff, breaks it all down for us. He's a phenomenal reporter. That drops later tonight. You'll get a little piece of it on the channel, and then you can see the whole thing if you sign up on Substack, or just wait for the full thing to drop for audio podcast tomorrow. All right, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.